What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Champion Living Podcast, where we believe that consistency, perseverance, and not taking life too seriously are the keys to success. I'm Doug, the founder and owner and head coach of Champion Living Fitness. Each week, I'll be joined by my coaching staff with the vision of providing trustworthy information about fitness, nutrition, and mindset, and how this all applies to being a professional rodeo athlete, as well as people from all walks of life. Are you ready to become a champion? Let's go. Oh, boys, good to have you here today. Matt, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Trying to get my little watch back on to monitor my heart rate this morning a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah, you're at the gym bright and early, huh?
I am, but I had a little condition here a month or so ago.
Oh.
Yeah. We were in Sioux Falls, and I went into AFib.
Oh, shit.
There's a lot to the story, but the short version is we finished our show on Friday night, and I went to bed, and I woke up at some point in the night in the middle of my bathroom floor. And
whoa,
which is odd. I don't drink. I don't do anything. I had left the show, grabbed a bite to eat, went to bed. Woke up in my bathroom floor. My head was spinning. My heart was racing. The next morning, I couldn't slow my heart rate down at all. It was all over the place. And I went to the emergency room, and they said I now have a history of AFib. And so
wow,
my heart was going crazy. But
dude, that's wild.
This guy on now to kind of monitor it. But
yeah, that's kind of scary, huh?
Yeah, it was like heart condition runs in my family. Like my mom had 4 bypasses like 2 summers ago. So I'm destined to deal with some heart issues. I don't like my family having to deal with my heart issues. So we're trying to just monitor, take care of everything. And that's why last few weeks have been super busy with, sleep tests and EKGs and tons of blood work and all this fun stuff. The price of trying to be healthy.
Yeah, that's a real thing, man. That's a real thing.
But I'd rather get all the work done to be proactive instead of wait and be reactive. It's just like training in the gym. I'd rather get ahead of things than make mistakes and then try to go back and fix them.
That sounds like you listened to the one we recorded yesterday.
But dude, I went to get blood yesterday and do blood work, just my normal stuff, right? But for some reason, there's always a part of me that just does not want to go, even though I feel great, everything's fine. I'm like, what if he tells me something crazy? And it's kind of, but also on the other side, it's like, well, what if you didn't go and you could have figured this out a lot sooner and, prevented something? It's a double-edged kind of sword there.
You sound like my wife and our sports medicine team. So back to that story of being in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and the whole emergency room trip. I didn't want to go, and my wife was on my case. Like, you're going to the ER, and unfortunately, she's really good friends with our sports medicine team. And Dave Edwards showed up at this little room that I was in, and he's like, "So, am I driving you to the ER, or are you taking yourself, or what's the plan?" She had talked to him, and so. But that was the case. I didn't want to go. And I think the truth is I didn't want the answers. I just, out of mind. And I didn't want to deal with it. I think that's, to your point about what you guys do. I think a lot of people don't want to wake up and realize that, look, this is the reality. I need to be training. I need to be working on my body. I need to be doing all these things to be proactive. I just don't want to admit it sometimes to myself that there's an issue. And it's fixable. And why we're so damn stubborn sometimes and don't just take the steps to, hey, let's fix the problem and be further ahead. I don't know what it is, but we all suffer from it to a degree.
We do. We absolutely do. And we were just talking yesterday about the hardest conversation is that one you gotta have with yourself in the mirror usually. And we avoid those at all costs usually because it's uncomfortable and it's not fun. And unfortunately in life, you kind of have to get comfortable with those uncomfortable things and learn to kind of go head on into them in order to kind of level up, if you will, in your in just how you go at life. But that's man, I'm sorry you're going through that, but I'm happy that you're on the other end of this and it's not slowing you down ever.
No, no, it's everything's good, man. Like I said, it was that one issue, and
Yeah,
thank God we got a hold of it. And we're trying to figure it out, and we've got it. Knock on wood, we've got a couple of answers, and so we'll figure it out.
cool. Love it. Love it, man. Well, like you said, you've been extremely busy, and I'm excited to hear about all of the things happening because you are, man, you're kind of on this side of it's a revolution, if you will, in television, in Western sports, in the whole Western industry. So let's kind of dive into we're gonna do this reverse. So I'd usually ask someone about their story, but I'm so excited about this. I want to hear about what's going on first. Like what? So most people know you from PBR. They've watched you on CBS. They see you as the announcer. What is this new transition TV wise that they're making for the PBR?
So we just announced recently a new partnership with Merritt Street Media, and it's brand new platform. Dr. Phil. I think everybody knows or has heard of Dr. Phil, and I think there's a lot of questions out there that are people going, well, why is Dr. Phil in the bull riding business? And I was in meetings all day yesterday with the team, and I've got a chance to visit with Dr. Phil a couple of times, and I tell you what excites me about this partnership is it's been a long time. And you guys know that people, quote unquote, outside of our world, it's one thing to get excited about going to an event or get excited about a single event, but there's a difference between excitement and passion. And getting a chance to visit with him and the passion that this guy has for the stories of our athletes is what excites me, because you guys, Doug, you've heard me say this a million times. It's my job to try to tell stories of these people and get the consumer to relate to them and buy in, invest emotionally. At the end of the day, my job is to make stars out of Western sports athletes. And it's been a long time since I heard somebody from outside of our world that came in with the same amount of passion that a lot of us have to do that. And he's like, he truly wants to make all of our athletes household names. And it's exciting. They launched, obviously, they've got Dr. Phil's show. Steve Harvey has a show. They brought in Nancy Grace. I visited with Chris Harrison yesterday, who was the
cool.
Bachelor forever,
Yeah.
who now has a show on the network with his wife. But the big thing is they are now the consistent home of professional bull riding. And we're talking about over 300 hours of content. We're talking about every single ride, as it happens, and it's consistent programming. So that every Friday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, PBR is going to be on Merritt Street. Every Saturday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, PBR is going to be on Merritt Street. And there's no more looking around and trying to figure out what night and what channel and where it's at. Like Merritt Street's got it. We still have a partnership with CBS, which is massive in terms of getting in front of new eyes. And a lot of that stuff might be boring to some people, but as a fan, that stuff should be exciting. And it excites me because now I think we're in a position to see an enormous amount of growth industry wide, and especially the PR. Like, dude, it's exciting. Like, super
It's
exciting.
beyond exciting. It's so cool.
It's huge.
Yeah. I can see Paul and Logan both I can see you both wanting to ask questions. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a lot of questions, but is that, I might be stepping ahead. So let me start with one. So like with the timing of like having, I mean, they've been advertising, they're going to have every single ride. So does that include like they're going to have Touring Pro and Velocity Tours also program like shows at the same time?
Yeah. So I can tell you this, I know for a fact, like we're going to have every single major league ride, if that makes sense. Okay. So the Unleashed Beast, which obviously is our individual season, and PBR Teams, that's going to be the core programming niche that we're going to be looking at. I don't know the answer to that about how much other programming is going to be available as far as our other tours. And I think that that's probably still something that is in the conversations. I do know this. We are bringing back a new version of an old show, and I think it's out there. Kate Harrison and I are going to be hosting a show every single week that is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot more personality driven, but we're going to be able to dive off into what's happening on the Velocity Tour, what's happening on the Challenger Tour. The idea is to not only cover the guys that are quote unquote stars in our industry right now, but let's go ahead and start looking ahead at the guys that are on their way to come up.
Yeah.
We just got the PBR Teams, and you guys know a lot of those guys in the draft.
Oh yeah.
We, as quote unquote insiders, have been watching these kids since they were riding mini bulls and coming up in high school, and we know they're studs. The problem is the rest of the world doesn't see that. Where like in the NFL, you have the high school All-American recruits that, go to big D1 schools, and you watch them through their college and university days, and going into the draft, like, who's coming in? Question is like, where are they going to land in that draft? Who's going to be the number one pick? And the idea is we're going to start building that right now. Our sport desperately needs to understand that the question of, man, are there bull riders out there? Are there cowboys and cowgirls? Are there contestants out there that can step in? Because that's a lot of question that people have had. How do we get in more bull riders? They're out there, man. Like they're out there working their tails off right now. And that's part of the excitement is I want to help cultivate that knowledge of knowing that those kids are coming and worth getting excited about.
And that, in my eyes, just opens up the doors for the young generations getting excited about being a bull rider, right? You talked about, in high school football, they have all these all-stars and whatever D1 stuff, camps they have to go to. Those are all outlets for those guys to know how to get to be a professional football player. We don't really have that in rodeo. It used to be this hard entry to barrier where you had to know somebody that did it, or you had a cousin or an uncle or a grandpa or someone that rodeoed, and that's how you got into it, right? There has been nowhere, and there really still isn't a lot of places you can go. And say you live in the city and you watch the PBR on Merritt Street and you're like, I want to do that. How do I do that? I have no clue. Like, no one will tell me. Well, now you guys have this outlet that's showing, hey, here's an 18-year-old kid, a 19-year-old kid. This is where they started. They came up through the high school ranks. Oh, I need to go to high school rodeo. Like, it starts to put pieces together for more people to get into this. And I haven't looked at the PBR's numbers, but I've done a lot of research on the PRCA's reach. Like, what are their demographics? Who is watching pro rodeo? And they're showing lots of increases in the viewership, which is awesome. The really scary part is that age group of 18 to 25 is 6% of their viewership. And then from 25 to 34 is like 14%. So 6 plus 14, we've got 80% of the viewers are 40 years older. And I'd say 60% of those viewers are 60 and up. So how do we make pro rodeo cool? And sorry, I'm diving off the road, but like, how do we make pro rodeo cool to the young guys? How do we show them how to get into this? Guys, girls, all around. And you guys are kind of taking that step. So sorry, it just fires me up. I might be more excited than you are right now.
How do you get kids excited to be involved in something if you don't get them excited to watch something, right?
Exactly.
You guys all know I'm an old school big pro wrestling fan, and I equate the Western industry to old school pro wrestling where, you had to be kind of brought in. There wasn't all these schools and camps and things. Like, you had to know somebody that trusted you in order to give you all the answers and kind of bring you in. And rodeo and bull riding has always been kind of that way. Like, you had to know somebody to get your foot in the door. Well, now with what you guys are doing, with what the teams are doing by providing these camps and opportunities with so many youth associations out there, well, now we're putting it out there. Like, this is how you get started. And it's basically become like football. There's little league football to show you the basics. And as you start to get older, you start to cultivate those skills and progress. And by the time that you're mature enough to handle it, you've got the basics. And so now it's starting to integrate the little intricacies to find out who's going to take it to the next level and who's not. That's never really been a thing that's out in the open. And now I think the industry as a whole is starting to realize that we have to do that. And it's cool to kind of see, like, we're all in the middle of history right now, whether we realize it or not. We're in the middle of the biggest growth our industry is going to see. And 30 years from now, we're all going to look back and go, holy shit, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like we
yeah.
say that right. I really believe that.
I definitely agree with you, Matt. Like, I feel like we're in the position now, like when the iPhone came out, like how that changed everything. And so like rodeo's finally like we're involving apps and we're involving like these different streaming services and stuff. Like we're finally at the iPhone stage. Like, so we're going to see this explosive growth.
But I'm
old
enough to go. I'm old enough to be one of those guys that understands how a lot of the people feel, because I had a flip phone. I'm not going and getting one of those. Break it within the first 10 minutes. Like I understand the pushback on change. The problem is, if you don't accept change, you're never going to grow. Guess what? I got an iPhone. The only reason I have an Apple, I pushed off the Apple Watch thing until I had my heart thing, and my doctor said you got to get one so you can monitor your heart rate. Well, guess what? Okay, now I get it. I'm doing this thing, and I understand. But it took me years to find a reason to accept that change. Once I did, I realized that life is a little easier when you start to realize that certain change is a good thing.
Amen. We see that from the outside looking in, I see so much pushback on the change of PBR teams. And I, for one, like think that change is a good thing, and that like we have to do something different at some point in time if we want to continue to evolve the sport. The switch to Merritt Street, which I, for one, was doing a little bit of this at first because I was like, Dr. Phil, but It makes sense now that you said, number one, he's passionate about the sport. It's not just something to make money. He's passionate about the sport. Number two, it's consistent programming. Well, that all of a sudden I'm like, light bulb. Got it. That makes a ton of sense. The change with PBR teams, we've got to continue to do some things to evolve the sport for the next generation. And it blows my mind that people can be so set in bull riding's not a team sport. Like what is the downside? How does it's going to enrich the lives of the roster riders? Can you imagine if I could still ride bucking horses on a salary that provides for my family and go to 30 events a year and be able to still, what that would do for my family and for me as a professional rodeo athlete?
Here's what I don't understand. We're talking about embracing change, but is it change when a guy is still putting his hand in a bull rope and putting his life on the line to win money and go out there and prove that he's the best at his craft? Who gives a crap? Like if you're a bull rider and you're against teams, then you're not really a fan of bull riding, in my opinion. Now, I get it. I understand people, it's the format or the concept or whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm watching the toughest athletes in the world strap themselves to the back of an animal athlete and try to hang on for 8 seconds, period. So it's not change. Like there's changes around it, but it's still.
My thing since the beginning has been that bull riding has always been a team sport. Like nobody's ever done it on their own. Like you've got to have help back there. Like you're going to have somebody that's going to pull your rope. You're going to have somebody that's going to spot you. You got to have traveling partners.
Yeah,
like you need help to make this thing happen. Now you're just wearing the same color shirt.
Guys, it's simple. Life is a team sport. Everything about this journey on this earth is a team sport. I don't care who you are or what you do. Nobody in this world is self-made. Somebody has supported you at some point in your life to help you get where you are. PBR Teams is that exact same concept. We're just talking about it now.
Yep. And the amount of bull riders that it's helping. And not to mention, one of the coolest things I saw with the team's experience was the fan base. You were getting people there that knew nothing about bull riding. They were there strictly because they are a huge fan, or they are very prideful in their state, in where they live. Arizona was a really good example. We had lines out the freaking door for autographs for these guys. And 90% of these people showing up had no idea who they were. They were just really excited. There was a professional bull riding team in Arizona. They were there to cheer on the home team. We get to game time. it's sold out, it's packed. They're straight up booing the other team when they're riding. Like, you can't get that experience anywhere else. That environment was like, I was so fired up. I'm like sitting there like shoving Colby on the back of the bucket chutes. I'm like, this is so cool, dude. Like, look at this. They're legit booing the other team because they want Arizona to win. Like, that doesn't happen. And that amount of people to get there and to get that like attached to it that quickly is, there's nothing else that can do that in rodeo.
We've talked a lot about this and about the energy that's in these arenas for these team events. Like, it's unbelievable. And if you're not there to see it live and feel that energy, you're not going to believe it, because we haven't felt anything like this since the days of JB Mooney and Silvano Alves battling for a world title. When we are in Thomas and Mack and there's Brazilian flags and Portuguese, yelling people just screaming their guts out for Silvano. And then the Americans start to show up with USA flags and start to counter. And there's this rivalry that it's been built. Well, now, and you guys know, I've lived an absolutely crazy life. Nashville, Tennessee is the one that blows my mind, because when we go to Nashville, if you see the random people that are texting me in other industries that are going, hey, I want to come to the event. Hey, dude, I want to come. Because Nashville has a sports team. And
they show up,
The Titans, like, they show up. They're a sports city as much as their music or anything else. They love their sports, and so it's opened so many new eyeballs. And so again, I go back to, if you're a fan of bull riders, why would you not want these new eyeballs? Why would you not want? Because at the end of the day, new eyeballs means new fans, means new money, which means bigger platform and more opportunity for the athletes you're supposed to be a fan of.
Yep. And the fact is, like, most people that have that mindset, the fixed mindset of not wanting to change, they're not looking at it like a business at all. They're not looking at it as the future. They're looking at it as what they once saw and had, and the good old days when the chutes are made of wood and the men were made of steel, that kind of shit. But like you said, change is good. I love change. Change makes everybody better, I think.
Yeah. Nothing grows to its full potential inside of a box.
No.
Right? Nothing. And so you got to tear the top off that box. Sometimes you got to rip the sides off of it. Sometimes you got to pull the bottom out from under it.
Just get Pandora out of that box.
I'm not going to lie. I was straddling the fence when it first came out, and I was like, man, I don't know. I just don't know. Well, we had the privilege of being able to be at the very first PBR Teams event ever in Cheyenne, and 3 bull rides in, I was hooked. I was addicted. I was like, this is the thing. Why isn't all bull riding like this? Why have we done this before? What is it like? Why? It was so much fun to watch teams battle back and forth, and this guy would ride, the other team would ride, and back and forth. And I'm like, this is exhilarating. We're not even training either one of these teams. And I'm like, I'm glued to the fence here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't stop watching. And so anybody that's on the fence about PBR Teams, like, if you'll put your money where your mouth is and go to an event, go sit in an event and watch an event, and then come back and tell me how much bull riding isn't a team sport and it's not designed to be done that way. And I guarantee you will change your mind.
And the simplicity of it is because for years we've watched 40 guys get on the back of the rankest bulls in the world. And as dangerous as that is, 40 times, it's like baseball. I love baseball. But when you get to about the 4th inning to the 6th inning, that's a good chance for me to stand up, go to the bathroom, grab a hot dog, and then I'll be back in for the 7th inning stretch and watch the rest of the game, right? And now it's different, because every single ride has major implications on what happens in that game. And if you miss 2 or 3 rides and you come back and the score's been jacked up, what did I miss? Like, you're not afforded that opportunity to walk away. You're invested from start to finish now.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's really cool. And like, really, this is kind of a funny story, but my wife never around rodeo until she met me, and got into the teams big time. Like, was a big fan. And we were watching on TV one night, and Lambert, like, he's just got that kind of cocky mentality, and he's always like looking over at the other team, like, like, I got you pinned or whatever. She just looks at me after one of these games. She's like, I really don't like that guy. And I was like, that is so damn funny. Just from what, like, people are like, it's just like, good guys and bad guys, like in the movies or whatever. Like it's getting created through the teams, and it's cool because you're getting big fans of other teams. You're getting people that don't like other people based off of what they're seeing just on the competition. Like it was funny to me just to hear her say that.
Yeah, that's just like Matt's example of like comparing it to wrestling. Like it's the same thing.
Exactly.
Like, they create the heroes and the villains in the storyline, and you know they can attach to that character or not. But you know, it's at the end of the day, it's all entertainment. Like so,
absolutely.
How can even that like creating villains within the PBR teams like that? I feel like is good for the sport.
Greatest moves in PBR teams history when the Texas Rangers hit the challenge button and it took a score off the board. I think, don't get me wrong, because I don't remember what city we were in or what team it was against at this point. But Texas ends up getting that score pulled off the board because the Rattlers hit the replay button, the challenge button. And it goes in the favor of Cody Lambert. And then Cody Lambert goes up on the big screen. What does he do? He takes his hat off and tips his hat to the.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
That was Arizona. Yeah.
That's what it was.
I mean, he just has this big grin on his face.
Oh yeah,
and that's one of my all-time favorite moments in bull riding history because it ignited that crowd into this fiery energy of like, hey, they care.
Yeah.
As a fan of bull riding, to feel thousands of people care that much, is what this is all about.
Yeah, makes the hair on my arm stand up just thinking about it, dude. It is what it's all about. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Not to mention what it does for the athlete.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like that's that's the other part that I really love about it. And I've said from after we went to that first event, it brings young guys together that would never, if they were just pro rodeoing or going to UTB events, they would, you know, a Casey Roberts would never probably naturally get in the rig with the Eli Vassbinder. Like they're just not going to be around each other that much outside of at the events. But because of teams, it brings these guys in, and the young guys are able to benefit from the older guys. The older guys are able to benefit from that fire and the passion that the young guys still have. You know, it's not just a job to them, and it brings guys together, and it elevates the level of all of them, not to mention what we're seeing with Cooper Davis and this idea of the possibility of stepping away for the regular, or, you know, the UTB season or not pro rodeoing, and just focusing all of my ability on riding bulls to the best of my ability for the team season. Wait, all of a sudden now a professional bull rider has what other sports might call an off season. What? Can you imagine what can get done in an off season in the weight room or in the skill development and in the, it changes everything. Yeah.
Like recovery, you know, when guys, as they do in this sport, now you've got a little time to bounce back, where always before, and you guys know as well as anybody, always before there's been this rush to get back into competition because you know the drill. If I'm not out there, I'm not making any money. I'm not providing for my family. So guess what? I'm supposed to be out, you know, 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going to push to get back in 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go out and I'm going to re-aggravate or re-injure whatever's bothering me.
And make it worse. Yeah.
6 months. And now we've provided an opportunity to, you know, have a little bit more time, not rush back. And look, this is going to be controversial, but at the end of the day, I've had guys tell me that, hey, they went over in a team season, and when they tell me some of the money and the numbers that they made going over, look, that's more than a lot of guys make all year long, down the road every week and busting their butt. And some people will say that's softening the sport. I disagree, because this isn't youth soccer. These guys are putting their life on the line every single time they go to work. And in my opinion, they deserve to be compensated for it. Like, obviously, I think that you should be incentivized, and the best guy gets paid the most. But
absolutely,
you're doing as these guys are doing, they should be compensated for it.
They absolutely should. Yep. They put their life on the line every time they nod their head, and that is not said enough. And I don't think it's even in the UTB, I think that just from what I hear, it could probably be addressed a little bit better on their compensation just for the fact of what they do. But that is not the point of this podcast. What was I going to say? Damn it. What were we talking about again?
Well, just the guys being able to recover, and that sport volume going down to getting on, from getting on 150 bulls a year, 120 bulls a year, going down to 30 or 40 bulls a year. Getting just that in and of itself. Let's leave the weight room out of it and not bring my strength and conditioning bias into it. Let just that alone is going to extend a guy's career.
Mm-hmm.
And so now a guy can have a salary and ride bulls and make money to support a family for a longer period of time. I mean, it's rodeo. Anything can happen, but in theory, by decreasing the amount of animals you're getting on, like, man, your body could probably handle it for a few more years. And that it makes it better for the athlete in and of anyway.
Yeah, any bull rider going down the road, like they're not healthy 100%. And so, like, if we think about just Cooper's position right now, he's been on maybe 3 or 4 bulls since November, so like the last 8 months. Like, he's probably the healthiest bull rider on the planet right now. He's feeling better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. So, like, there's a competitive advantage to that too.
And he's hungry. When you're away from it, you miss it. And when you really, it's like your significant other. It's one thing when you go out on the road, if you really love that wife or that husband or whatever, you start to miss them. You're ready to get home. Well, let me tell you something. Cooper Davis is ready to get back home into the arena. He showed on a practice bull that he posted the other day. I sat in a room with him the other day and kind of circle back to what we were talking about earlier. He said for the first time in his life, he's on a group text with guys that don't speak his language because they've got Brazilians on the team and they're all on a group text. And so he's like, it's awesome because normally Brazilian guys kind of sit in their corner of the locker room or in their room because they can communicate with each other. Well, now it's different because everything is kind of crossed, whatever those lines, imaginary lines are. And now they're starting to communicate with these guys that they've never been able to communicate with before. I'm going to go back to, like, Logan, you said the word family. Take the health and wellness part out of our sport, guys. How much time do our athletes spend away from their families? That's not a good thing. In any case, in any sport, in any business. Well, now all of a sudden you've got time to spend more time with your family. And so that makes you stronger at home, which is going to make you stronger on the road. And look, you just can't find, in my opinion, you can't find enough positives or too many positives. There's just so many positive benefits to what's happening right now.
Hui has the best gear because it's tough. It's durable. It withstands the test of what we put it through, and that is why I am a big supporter of Hui brands. Guys, from hats, apparel, whatever you need, they've got you covered. They are the perfect blend of rodeo style and athletic performance. You can check them out at huibrands.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, is going to save you a little bit at checkout. Here's the deal. Lots of rodeo gear companies are coming out, but not all are equal. Beastmaster is really setting the bar when it comes to the equipment that is built for durability and designed for success in the arena. You guys can check them out at beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving24. That's ChampionLiving24. Going to save you a little bit at checkout. Were you at Rock and Rodeo? At Kid Rock and Rodeo?
I was.
I want to hear about this because that's that's a preview of Teams Rodeo, So I was fired up about the whole event, what it was doing for, again, the sport, to get on the national level of getting it in front of people. And it looked like it was sold out. And that's badass. That's a giant arena to sell out and to have people in. So let's hear about it. What was your take? How was it?
First,
from the viewer, from the fans' view and from your view.
Yeah, they're the same. Because I look at everything from a consumer standpoint. Whatever I am to some people doesn't matter because I'm a fan first and foremost. And so that's how I look at everything I do in life. And so my first reaction is it was freaking awesome. Have you ever seen any type of Western sport start with a Kid Rock concert and end with a Kid Rock concert? No. And so it was so difficult because we were in rehearsals. So I was the third guy on the mic because we wanted it to be so much different than the rest of the weekend. And AT&T Stadium was going to have to listen to me and Clint Atkins the next 2 nights, call the PBR World Finals. And so Garrett and Chris did an awesome job coming in there and announcing that rodeo. I had a mic and was just kind of, I caught myself just watching like everybody else. And so rehearsals, we, no phones, no footage, no nothing. Kid Rock comes out in the what are they called? The Tesla.
Yeah, the General Lee or whatever it was.
But what are the cars called? The trucks, the Cybertrucks.
Cybertruck.
Oh yeah.
Cybertruck that's wrapped like the General Lee. And we had heard rumors, and I kind of knew. But during rehearsals, he comes out, he's singing, and then Jelly Roll pops out. And I'm a
yeah.
massive Jelly Roll fan, so like I popped in an empty building, like I'm losing over here, and watching that rehearsal, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is going to be incredible! Like this is going to be one of the coolest experiences ever." So I was prepared, but were all of you there?
Mm-mm.
No, I wasn't there.
We didn't get to go.
When that show started, the energy in that stadium was like, seriously, you know, you always hear, oh, I couldn't hear myself talk. I couldn't hear myself think. It was insane, guys. And Kid Rock comes in when he starts that show. And the cool thing about it is that set the tone for the rest of the night. We can do all the things before a rodeo or a bull riding that we want to do. But I don't know that you can ever set the tone the way that Kid Rock and Jelly Roll and a General Lee Cybertruck with John Snyder from Dukes of Hazzard driving, by the way. and so we started at like the peak energy level, and that set the tone for the rest of the night and kept it going. Because then you pop into head-to-head barrel racing, and you start with barrel racing, which is something completely different.
I love it.
It was, dude, it was so awesome. Now, the one complaint was, and trial and error, right? It did get a little lengthy. It was a little long.
That's the
but
only complaint I heard too.
That, you know, you learn from. And I can tell you that within those few hours, those problems were being solved. And so when we come back and we do it next year or whenever that next one is going to be, I mean, I would love to say it's going to be before next year, but let's say next year when we come back and do it, it's going to go. And just like anything, we've answered a lot of questions, or they have, and the product that's going to be out there next year is going to be even better. It's going to be even more exciting. But look, the team concept it's fun, man. It's fun.
So cool. When hey, if they start to get to the expansion teams, you let them know that we got 2 mics and they don't like any feedback. We're ready to roll, baby.
It's fun because you have no idea how many times I hear that about PBR teams.
Oh yeah.
And we can offline about this, but like I have guys that are not from our industry that are friends of mine that are like, hey, how do I get a team? How much was it? Okay, so what if I get this guy in with me? Like, you know, the excitement level about being involved is it's awesome, man.
Yeah, it really is, man. It's what rodeo needs. We need people to be excited about this, and unfortunately, in the world, everything takes a lot of money to do, whatever it is. And so, we need people that are excited about it with money as well. It helps everything, right? But man, no, the Kid Rock and Rodeo just fired me up. Did you get to talk to Jelly Roll at all or meet him?
No,
I hear he's just the sweetest guy.
We've got so many mutual friends.
Yeah.
And dude follows me on Instagram.
That's awesome.
Never met the guy that I know of. And I'm such a massive fan. I'm thinking about taking a trip just to watch him, which is I don't leave the house other than to go to work. But we're talking about it right now. So
you should go, man.
Well, I'm sure he'll reach out after he listens to our podcast. I'm sure.
Yeah, he's a big fan of the Champion Living podcast.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, we'll hook you up. We got you.
No, but Kojo and I are still really good buddies, and we talk a good amount. And he talks about Jelly a lot, about how just what an angel of a guy he is, just an absolute great human being. So I'm sure that you would enjoy his show and enjoy meeting him even more. From what I hear,
everybody says he's like the best human they've ever met. Like everybody that we're mutual friends, they say the same thing. They say he's one of the purest human beings you've ever met in your life. And at the end of the day, again, we love those people. Like those are the people who want surrounding us. There's a reason that you guys are all in the same circle. There's a reason you guys are doing this together. It's because you're like-minded, because you're good humans. And the more good humans we can get in our industry, the better.
Amen, dude. Amen. And there's something to be said.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. What'd you say?
I said, nice Cody Johnson name drop, by the way.
Hey, man, he's
So,
got the Champion Living shirts on and his stories. Everybody already knows. He's like the OG of Champion Living for real. That dude has been with me since the very beginning. Everyone's like, who's the first rodeo athlete you trained? I'm like, well, in all reality, it's Kojo because the dude's a team rope and full. They just started that. The inaugural Kojo Invitational. It's going to be in Waco in November. It's like I forgot how much they added, stupid amounts of money, and they're donating a massive amount to charity from it. So it's going to be a really cool event. So any of you team ropers listening, make sure you check that out and get into that. But yeah, he's a great dude. Jelly Roll's a good dude. Like you said, like the circles, people surround themselves with like-minded people, good people. Like it's the same thing. Like I can tell you, no matter where those people are, even if they're on these big stages like those guys, they still surround themselves with small circle guys they can relate to and talk to and get truth from.
But what a great metaphor. Like, use Cody Johnson, for example. I don't think anybody would have just went out and picked Cody Johnson and Jelly Roll to set something, right? But it's one of the most beautiful partnerships. It's one of the most beautiful teams in my opinion, in the history of music.
Yeah.
And bull riding and team sports, marry the two and see what happens, right?
Yep.
You know, put your walls down, stop being closed-minded, and beautiful things can happen.
Amen. Amen. How the hell did you get here? How are you where you are? What's your story? Like, you've got a lot of stories. So let's hear about this. You weren't always swollen jacked. I know that. You went through a big journey with that, fitness wise and health wise. And, did you rodeo at all in your younger life, or how'd you get into rodeo too?
So I grew up in a saddle all the time. Like when I was a kid, we were riding. Always had horses. My grandpa helped start a rodeo in Perry, Oklahoma. My mom was the very first rodeo queen in Perry, Oklahoma. My dad, his best friend rode bulls, and so I was always around bull riding. I think my dad tried to ride bucking horses back in the day, but baseball was his thing. Played the Junior College World Series a couple of times, like played with and against a ton of guys that went and played pro ball, was just a stud baseball player, right? My mom was, grew up roping and rodeoing, doing everything. So when I was a kid, I was in a saddle a lot and growing up. As I got into high school, got into baseball, but stayed very heavily involved in ag. FFA was huge. Honestly, it was the biggest part of my life. Played basketball, did normal, high school kid things, right? Progressed out of college or out of high school. I went to college on a horse judging scholarship. I had a full
That's cool.
judge. And so like that was kind of our claim to fame in high school was we had like world-class horse judging teams. And so I thought I was going to be a horse show judge the rest of my life. I thought I'd be standing there in the AQHA world, judging horse shows for the rest of my life. And when I was at NEO A&M, I kind of had some guys say, "Hey, come help us." And the reality of it is, my dad's best friend forced me to announce a little kid's bull riding, an NJPRA bull riding in Delaware, Oklahoma. And I hated it, guys, because like I'm the most introverted, socially awkward, shy kid you've ever met in your entire life. Hated talking in front of people. And I've told the story a million times. I get done with that first little kid's bull riding, and the lady that owns the organization, she says, "Hey, are you going to do the one next month?" And I said, "No, ma'am. I'll never do this again as long as I live." She said, "Well, if you change your mind, let me know in the next few days. I'll pay you $75 cash." And I went, "Okay, wait, what's the day? And when do I need to be here?" So that, and then it snowballed into,
I love this.
Yeah, because I had been around the industry, with my dad's best friend riding bulls, and my kids that I grew up that were like my brothers had started riding calves and sheep and stuff like that. I was always a fan. Like the lifestyle was something I knew, and I knew well. I just wasn't on the inside, and then I started doing a lot of everything to be involved in rodeo. I just wanted to be involved, and then I found my way to do it, and so. I got people knocking on my office door right now. They don't understand. I'm busy. No. But anyways, yeah. So that's how it kind of involved. I never rodeoed. I got on a bull. Dumbest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I enrolled in the same college 3 different times and never passed a semester. So I'm well versed in doing dumb things, but getting on a bull was hands down the dumbest.
But talk about the evolution, dude. We talk about evolution of rodeo athletes on this show a lot, what they have to do to become elite. What was that journey like? What was the time frame from, this forced into announcing a junior bull ride into now you are the one of the main voices of the PBR? How long has it been since then? And, once you found out this is something you love to do, like what did that journey look like? You go head on into everything. So I want to hear about that.
I picked up a microphone for the first time in 2003. I did about 5 junior bull ridings in 2003. I ran into a guy at the finals of that bull riding organization by the name of Tim Fuller. And he asked me, he said, "Is this what you want to do for a living?" And that had never crossed my mind that was a reality. And I said, "I love doing this. There's something about it that has like really sparked an interest in me." And so like, I would love to do rodeos. Cause I grew up listening to Clem McSpadden, he lives 20 minutes down the road. And so I had listened to his voice and Tim was like, "Well, I'm in the middle of a transition in my career. I have a lot of these amateur rodeos that I think I could hook you up with if you're interested." So I did my first rodeo in 2004, April of 2004. And that rodeo is a whole nother podcast by itself, the highs and lows of that. But anyways, 2004, I did a handful of rodeos. That kind of started picking up. I got more and more rodeos the next few years. In into 2006, I got a call. Justin McKee's wife had been at one of those junior bull ridings and called Justin and said, "Hey, I know you guys are looking to fill a spot at one of those PBRs. I think Matt's the guy." And so I got to credit Justin McKee's wife, Jeannie, for a lot of what has happened since
cool.
then. But then I get a call from Justin, and then I get a call from Brandon Bates, and me and Brandon Bates we hit it off. And so in January 2007, I did my first PBR Built Ford Tough Series event at the time. Only one I did. I didn't do any in 2008. I did a handful in 2009. But in the meantime, they had hired me. Jerome Robinson took me to all of his events, his Touring Pro events. I started doing all the international events. I did all of PBR Canada. I started doing all of PBR Australia's major events. And so I was kind of the international guy and like one of the main Challenger Tour, Touring Pro division guys. And then in 2009, I started getting a few more. 2010, I got my first call to go be one of the 3 guys at the World Finals. And I just worked my 15th finals. And so it snowballed. And I look back at it now and it's the cliche, it's kind of been a blur. It happened so fast that I feel like it was 6 months ago that I was dragging speakers up and down the road, setting up my own speakers, trying to play music and announce at the same time, trying to figure out what was going on down in the arena. And now here we are, and 15 World Finals later, I still wonder what's going on.
Dude, that's so cool, man.
A really long, complicated story, but it's wild, man.
No,
it say yes. Like that's what I hear when I hear your story is say yes. Do the hard things, do the things that you don't want to do, that you're scared to do, because from the outside looking in, I mean, your journey to success was all because you said yes. When you didn't say no, it's $75 is what it cost for you to be successful. That was the price. I'll come back for $75, and here you are. But it was because you put yourself out there. You did something you didn't want to do. You were a little, scared of or didn't enjoy at first. And
but you did it well. Like you went head on into it. And
absolutely.
So you never know who's watching. And, Jeannie's sitting there in the stands and isn't there looking for Justin to find other announcers there for their kid or whatever. And all of a sudden here's this guy who's way overqualified for where he's announcing, obviously, because hey, I don't want to be here. I didn't want to do this, but I don't do things poorly. I do them to my best of my ability. And that's something you can't be really taught that. You just have to do that. You have to be wired that way. Right. And so I just, that's a message to all those, anybody listening, like say yes to opportunities and go head on into them. Do them with the best of your ability. Don't just do them half-assed, because you never know what that could lead to. I guarantee when, again, like he said, his getting forced to do this one announcing job, and then here we are 25 years later, and he's done 15 PBR World Finals, and like it's like that question: could you tell yourself 10 years ago? If you looked at yourself today, or look back at what's the question? Someone asked us that the other day. Like looking back at your life, or could you tell yourself 10 years ago where you're going to be today? Would you think you're crazy, or like, would you even think it was possible? And I could say, like, even for me, 5 years ago, I would tell you, like, you're out of your mind. There's no way that's going to happen. You just never know. So that's crazy.
To Logan's point, though, and it's something we should be doing to ourselves every single day. Fortunately for me, I had somebody else do it for me, but the bottom line is simple. Incentivize the shit that scares you to death, because that's where you're going to grow into the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. I had somebody else go, hey, I'll pay you to do this thing that terrifies you. Why are we not doing that with ourselves? Why am I not waking up and go, look, here's your reward at the other end of this really hard stuff that scares you to death. Yeah. Pay yourself, incentivize yourself to do the shit that terrifies you.
Yeah. Dude, that's it.
There's nothing in the world that scared me more. I'd rather fight 10 grown men than talking in front of people when I was younger. and it's an easy answer. Like, yep, let's go. I don't care.
Line them up.
Football team, let's go. I'd rather do that than have to talk in front of 20 people all day.
Oh, man, that's funny. That is so funny. If it doesn't scare you, it's probably not worth pursuing, And I got, just to finish this up, Kojo told me one time, dude, and as a business owner, anything, we all go through this shit. Like, we aren't just all unicorns and rainbows. It's all good. Like, we go through, we got anxiety, we have problems, like we go through stuff. And he told me something when I first started this business, and I called him one day because, it's one of my guys I call and I'm freaking out and I need someone to talk to. And he's like, hey, I had one of my mentors told me this one day, and it's stuck with me ever since as well. But pressure is a privilege. If you 100%. Don't want pressure, that's okay. But that's like to your calling. If your calling is something big, pressure is a privilege. That scariness is good. It should feed you. It should let you know that, dude, all right, we're onto something here. Like, this is the right track. If it's not scary, it's not a level ahead. You're not moving forward, right? And that's okay too. Not everyone wants to take those jumps. And if you just want to work your 9 to 5 and go enjoy the weekends, that's cool too. You know what I mean? Go get your regular job. But if you want to change the world, or, your calling is bigger than that, you're going to go through some pressure and some anxiety. And once you start realizing that's a good thing, that pressure it's a privilege to feel that, it changes everything for you. And like, once I heard that, it's been years, and it's still, every time I feel like that, I'm like, oh no, this is good, dude. This is a good feeling. Like, keep pursuing that. Go after that.
But how many people have never felt that beautiful feeling of being terrified? And so if you're not in that position of feeling pressured, then you don't get the reward that comes with the afterthought, right? But the other side of that is, and I've heard this from you, Cody Webster, Dale Bris, like everybody that's connected to Cody Johnson. And a big reason why I'm such a fan of his music is because there's a common theme. The bigger he gets in his fans' eyes, the more humble and grounded he becomes, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm such a fan. Like, yeah, I've done 15 World Finals, but I promise you, I'm more humble today than I was in 2010. I am more nervous, and I don't want to use the word, maybe not the word nervous, but more, I feel more pressure today than I did even 15 years ago. And it's because I care more and more every single day. And just to circle back to your little name drop there of Kojo, that's why I'm a big fan, because I think that the higher you climb in your field, the more humble you should become.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, man. Agreed. And it's, in the beginning of anything, we just you don't know really what to expect, or like what your expectations of yourself are. So it's hard to feel that pressure. But even as we've grown, I feel more and more pressure every day in just like the quality of the content we're putting out. Are we putting out important enough things for the athletes to get? Because that's how we care. We just want to help people. And like we say it all the time, yes, we have to make money because this is how we live. But at the end of the day, like we'll answer questions, we'll do whatever to help someone get ahead. And that's why we're here. And it's like a lot of self-inflicted pressure, right? To do better and be better.
Bring on a new client. When you bring on a new client, because I know how you guys are wired, you're just as anxious, nervous, maybe even insecure at times to take on that new client, no matter how many guys you've worked with and seen success from. When you bring on somebody new, you're just as nervous because you want to help that person. You want to get those same results or be even better. And if you don't feel that way, then there's a little self-reflection that needs to happen. It's like, yes, I'm growing. I know what I'm doing. I'm getting better every day, but I still feel that level of, am I doing this good enough for this other person? I go back to day one in the gym. The very first day I ever walked into a gym was one of the most terrifying moments of my entire life. I was 299 pounds. I had never been in a gym. I had never lifted a weight. I had no idea what I was doing. I sometimes still, owning a gym, get just as nervous going into a different gym as I did the day that I was almost 300 pounds. And I don't know what that is, but it's reality. And I'm in a little different position today than I was however many years ago. So.
A little bit of insecurity is good for us. You know what I'm saying? We always make it the enemy, but a little bit of insecurity, it just keeps you striving and it keeps you wanting to be better. It keeps you wanting to grow and it keeps you wanting to do the best. You've built a reputation. Like I hope that we're in the process of and have been doing is building this reputation for taking care of people or educating people through, through the television on professional bull riding. You've built this reputation and that's where the pressure comes from now. At first, it was like, nobody knows me. If this sucks, it just is what it is. Thanks for the opportunity. It was cool. But now you've built a reputation as being one of the foremost commentators in all of Western sports. Now, like, hey, I want to keep that rolling. And so that keeps you pushing to be better, just like it does with us. So it keeps us wanting to grow in our knowledge and understanding and application of strength and conditioning for rodeo. And it's important, I think, to have just a little bit of insecurity is probably good for us.
It's changed for me. Because I used to be terrified of the people sitting around the arena. And that's what scared me and made me nervous. And to use your word, insecure. Like I was insecure about, talking in front of 10, 12, 15,000 people. Now what makes me have that same feeling is the guys in the locker room that I'm with every single week. Because now they've entrusted me to tell their stories. And my insecurity comes from, am I doing them justice? Am I doing a good enough job to tell their story? Because that's pressure I put on myself. My job is to take the guys in the locker room. And if I'm not doing them justice, then I'm not doing right by them. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that and be that guy. So
you nailed it on the head. That's exactly how we feel about that. Like turn it to training, like those guys. If I stress about anything, it's like them. Like, did we do enough? Did we prepare these areas enough? When something happens to them, we can't control that. There's things happen in rodeo you can't control. The bull flips over, whatever. Like, could we have helped that? No, but instantly I'm thinking to myself, like, what did I not do that I could have to help him, right? Or them. And I think that's why we're always hungry to learn too. We got these certifications and yada yada, we've done all these education, but we never stop learning. We're always trying to learn more so we can be better at helping people, and that's what keeps us growing, and that's what keeps you growing as well, dude.
I think the last thing, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I think the announcer game is a little bit like the strength and conditioning game in the fact that there's a lot of ego and there's a lot of pride, and really the pride, this is my conclusion. The pride comes from everybody is so dang insecure and they're afraid that people are going to find out that they don't know what they're doing. Newsflash, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm learning every day. None of us do. We don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's foundational principles that are true, but for the most part, we're figuring it out.
The
day
rest
to
is
day.
gray,
Like,
baby. Like
if we can,
the
if
rest
we
is
could,
gray.
exactly.
Yeah.
If we could drop our ego a little bit and come to terms with the fact that we're just insecure, how much better could the sport of, from the announcer game, how much better could the sport of rodeo be if we're willing to work together? How can we elevate each other? And sure, like the other people are going to have better paying gigs than others, and you want to get that one and this and that and all. I get it, but we could elevate the sport as a whole, because at the end of the day, you guys are the ones that tell the story for rodeo. It could be the best production with NFR or PBR caliber stock, and if the announcer sucks, it's a horrible rodeo.
Yeah.
And that's the fact, is that you guys do tell the story. And man, the same thing as strength and conditioning world. If we could collaborate a little bit and be okay with saying, I don't know, I'm happy to learn, or
what do you think?
or I was wrong. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
We don't like saying that. You know what I'm saying? I was wrong. I could maybe do things better. How much better could the industry be if we're willing to do that?
But the fitness industry and the announcing business are very similar. There's a lot of people out there that go into it just for themselves, for their ego, to build themselves up to be a star. If you're going at it to be in a position to help others, I've never looked at this as this is about me. My job and my career has always been about taking care of the athletes. I don't care if anybody knows my name at the end of the night or not. Don't care. If they leave there and they go, my God, I'm a fan of that person, then I did my job. Where you guys are in a very similar situation. Like, they know that you guys are the ones behind the scenes making it work. But if a guy goes out there and wins and stays healthy and can recover faster because of the work that you've poured into him, that's what it's about. That's the real reward. I'm a huge podcast guy. I've heard Dana White say this so many times lately, that one of the keys to success is you never put money ahead of people. You never put money ahead of people. Because if you're putting other people first, everything else is going to fall into place.
Amen.
I have looked so many times over the last couple of years. I want to build a career to where when I'm dead and gone, 20 years after I'm off of this earth, 20 years later, somebody goes, holy crap, we didn't realize what he was doing. Because he kept quiet. He didn't like talk about things like, but he was doing all this stuff to help build this and make it grow. And we didn't realize it 20 years after he was dead. I don't need a pat on the back. I don't want that. I want somebody to realize when I'm dead and gone, oh my God, he was putting everybody else first.
Dude. Yep. That's it, dude. That is it. And that's a perfect way to wrap this up. Hey, real quick about you. Where can people follow you and your podcast and everything you got going on?
This Matt L. West. Don't forget the L.
Don't forget the L.
There's a lot of, believe it or not, it's a pretty common name. But
Don't say.
I think there's like several famous people named Matt West too. I think, isn't there?
Every time
some like different industries.
Every time I drop my credit card somewhere, somebody looks at me and goes, "Are you a Christian singer?" I mean, they're as good, but I can sing the same songs, just not as good as he can.
It's not as good.
Yeah, Matt L. West. We're getting ready to launch the next show or that show on Merritt Street in the next couple of weeks, and so we'll be putting out a lot of stuff about that. But and we're working on some podcast things right now that I'm really excited about. But we're, like I said, we're in the middle of figuring out strategies and the right approach to do things right. So just Matt L. West on all forms of social.
Cool. Check them out. And then also I would follow Merritt Street so you guys can keep up with everything going on there and everything going on with that group. Big fan of that. And I've been keeping up with. Yeah. And PBR. Absolutely. But it's cool. Matt, dude, thank you so much for being here today, brother. We had multiple requests to have you on, so we're like, I don't know why we have not had him on yet. This is insane. So I'm glad you could be here this morning, make time for us, brother. And much love, and we'll talk soon, man.
Same. Appreciate you guys.
Y'all, if you're having trouble sleeping or you've got really achy muscles, Power Pro CBD has teamed up with us to bring you their tinctures and their warming lotions. Guys, these have been a crucial part of my nightly routine. Y'all can check them out at PowerPro, PWRpro.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, to save you a good chunk at discount. Hey guys, we got some exciting news for you. If you're listening to this, we know that you're committed to upping your game in the arena. And we're teaming up with the Rodeo Now app to help you do just that. The Rodeo Now app allows you to record, upload, and catalog your rides and runs, review your performances in slow motion, and our favorite feature, if you're not familiar with your stock draw, you can search your animal by name to get all the intel you need to make your next ride a winning one. Join the rodeo revolution today and download the Rodeo Now app for free. It's available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
If you want to learn more about our coaches and program options, make sure to swing over to our website at www.championlivingfitness.com. You can fill out the Become an Athlete form to set up your free consultation and have all your questions answered by a coach.